What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Ellie Wade.
This is Melo.
And we were just on the PageSix podcast.
Hello and welcome back to PageSix. My name is Christabel and I'm going to be your host for today. Unfortunately, my co-host Chicks is not feeling well today, so unfortunately I'm the only one here today. But not to worry, I told him, don't worry, just you rest. I'll take over for you today, so I'm representing for two, okay? So, hi, welcome back to PageSix. My name is Christabel and we have in the studio today two amazing guests. I am so excited for today's conversation. But before I introduce them, I'm going to introduce them to you guys. So today in the studio, we have Ellie Wade and we have Mello Fisher with us in the studio. Can we just give them a round of applause? Like a virtual round of applause, please? Yes. Hi, you both, and welcome. Hey. I'm like, before I get into it, I'm going to give a little intro on who they both are. So, Ellie Wade is a storyteller, an educator, and mental health advocate with a Master's of Education from the University of Toronto and certification as a trauma facilitator. She's the author of The Adventures of a Recovering Sex Addict, host of Cocktails with Ellie. I'm going to spell the cocktails. COCKTALES. We're going to get into that, Ellie. And she's the creator of the short film Thirsty AF, which explores addiction and recovery. She has also hosted and appeared on the reality show Niger Wives of Toronto. Through her work, she challenges stigma, sparks honest conversations, and helps others to shape their journey. And we also have Mello Fisher, who's also her partner. But Mello Fisher is an industry expert in media. He has also been in the educational space as a professor in the International Academy of Design and Toronto Film School in about 5 departments ranging from fashion to film and creativity. So we have both of them in the studio today. We're going to get into their personal journeys and also their relationship today. Okay. So, welcome. I'm like, okay.
Wow, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you honestly, thank you for honoring our invite. But I was gonna say, like, before we get into how are you both doing?
Oh man, I am so blessed and highly favored.
I can tell you look blessed and highly favored, girl.
Man. I'm in the zone. I'm feeling really good.
I love it. I love it for you. I love it. And
Thank you.
Same. Very, very blessed and highly favored.
I
have Ellie Wade sitting beside me, which is an amazing partner. So
yes.
I can't ask for more, really.
Oh my gosh. You know what that means. You want some later.
Oh! Latika, I'm rooting for you, okay? I'm rooting for you. Yes, we love it. Okay, so even before we dive into today's conversation, I wanted to just preface a little, what's the word now? But anyways, I don't even know the English, but it's very important that we emphasize that consent is the foundation of every sexual encounter. It is non-negotiable. It must be clear, mutual, and ongoing always. If consent is not given, it simply should not happen. Okay?
Yeah. Wow, I really respect and appreciate you even saying that.
Yes.
People do not lead with that, especially lately. So that's big.
I think it's very important. But Ellie, I know you're not just an author, but you're also an educator, you're a trauma facilitator, and a storyteller across multiple platforms and mediums. Your work covers deep personal and societal themes, sex being one of them. So today we're focusing on sex, but I know for you it's always tied to healing, identity, and storytelling. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So straight off the bat, my first question for you today would be, what first led you to explore sex as a topic in your work?
Well, thank you so much for having me here and for asking a really important question. And it's funny that you started the segment with the consent conversation because my background comes from sexual abuse. I was 5 years old when I first was assaulted, and I continue to be assaulted throughout my life, having different, it's been, I'm much older now. So, but it's like a reverb effect where all of the things that have happened to me since I was young have been carried over. And until I was willing to face things, I always say that I took over where my abusers left off. So at some point I stopped being abused, but then I was in a sense partaking in my own abuse by allowing for things to happen to me and to participate in that abuse because I just didn't know how to navigate the space. I was just talking to my esthetician, big up Elena, yesterday, who spoke a lot about, not really. She's like, you need to be in your divine feminine energy. And I said to her, you know what? I need to get to know who that
that
divine
is.
feminine person is, because while I've had aspects of it where I've shown up in that space, I don't know how to consistently be there because trauma always seeps in to different experiences. But the thing that saves me is my ability to not be afraid to look at myself and to call myself out and to really have communication around what it is that I'm going through.
Wow. Thank you for even sharing your story. And I think what I really picked out was like your importance of accepting yourself,
Absolutely.
which is something that I think is very much underrated in our society today. So, but and honestly, I'm also sorry about like the experience, but I just want to say I'm so proud because honestly, like you're such a strong woman. Like if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't even know that happened to you. So honestly,
Well,
kudos to
let me just say to you, thank you for saying that. But let me also say for people out there who are struggling, the face of healing doesn't always look bright and shiny and happy. There's been many times where I've been in the fetal position, crying, suicidal ideation, screaming, throwing things, punching things. That is the reality of what it looks like. But my ability to confront that ugly truth is what enables me to have the shiny, because it's that radical acceptance that this is a journey. I'm not perfect,
Yes.
and I've come through something. I came through it. I'm not stuck in it. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Not to take the spotlight from you, but I'm going to go to Tickle Little. Okay.
I'm coming for you, baby. I got you, though.
I'm like, I know him as Mello, but
Yes.
like officially, I'm like, I saw you Tickle Mello. So,
I appreciate it.
okay, I'm like, okay, so which one can I call you? Tickle?
Mello's fine.
Okay, I'm like,
Whatever
oh,
you feel
okay, I
comfortable with.
know Mello. And where did the name Mello even come from, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, from Romello. Yeah, so,
so slow.
That's all right.
It's okay, girl. It's okay.
Yeah, but I guess being the way
Yeah.
how I am, a lot of people kind of gravitate to that, and of course, being the people we are, we tend to shorten names and
Yes,
make them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. So my first question for you would be like how does your creative perspectives influence each other? Because like just even with the little I know about you, I know you've done like animations. I know you've like you mentioned, like you're also in like the fashion department. So how do these like different perspectives, how do you think they influence each other, especially when like working with someone like Ellie, tackling issues that have to do with like intimacy and relationships?
That's a really good question. Art, right? Thankfully, after COVID, art has been highly accepted, right, amongst our communities. And art is one of those things that really don't come from anywhere else but within, right? And I think it's one of the things that is not only an outlet, but is a healing tool, right? Art actually comes from God, right? So if we could find that within ourselves, a lot of people find that they're not artists, but everybody is an artist. Everybody is creative. It doesn't matter what you touch or what you end up practicing. We are all artists. And if we look within ourselves and try to find that and exercise that more, right, then, you'll find peace, I think.
I love that. And honestly, really, that's such
I love that.
like a profound answer.
is.
Honestly,
Because God is the original creator.
for real, I actually totally agree with that. That God really is art, honestly. Because even when sometimes I just go to take a walk and I come back with so much inspiration, just like
Same.
looking at the trees, the skies,
Nature.
like exactly. It gives you a lot of room to imagine. But now I actually want to go a little more into like your experience as a professor. So do you mind just giving me a rundown of how long you were in that profession and like what the experience was like for you personally.
Wow. I had a lot of responsibility from when I was young. And right after going to college, I took advertising. I didn't know exactly what I want to do, right? I was always a visual artist, but I didn't know exactly what I want to do, right? Because art wasn't really a thing to look at, right? It's either you get into, you know, being an accountant or something of that nature, but
Doctor,
art, right,
engineer,
exactly.
yeah.
So art was never a thing. So my last year of high school, I ended up doing all of my arts because I didn't take it throughout high school. And then once I finished college, I ended up demanding a job in the school that I went to, right, in the college. So in demanding politely, they
Not politely.
right, they were nice enough to give me what is called kind of like a TA position.
Okay.
And from there, what I did was I really just got to know every department head. That was my plan, to be able to say hi, good morning, and so forth to every department head. And I got the opportunity to tutor some of the grads, post grads, to get jobs. And when I did that, and they saw my potential, my first job really as a teacher was in fashion, right? I thought it would be in graphics or something like that, right? But it was really fashion. And I helped develop that particular department as well as being in, you know, fashion merchandising, advertising, computer graphics, digital media, and film, right? And audio. So I ended up teaching in two different schools. And I did that for probably a little over 10 years afterwards.
Wow. And what do you, especially like as a professor and dealing with like creative, like people that are upcoming, I think because it's a very vital stage for like creators. How were you able to manage like, I'm trying to find the best words. Like how were you able to manage like, you know, knowing that the responsibility of like this creative's future, like you're part of that.
And the responsibility. You know, when you do something you love, right, where you really enjoy, even throughout teaching, there was a lot of creative aspects, and I loved it. We were in the CBC building, which was really, really nice to have. You know, huge studios. Right? Each studio, we had I think about three different studios. Each studios you could build a building inside of
Wow.
the studio, right? Each class that I had was probably around 20 or so students in each class. And, you know, when you have so many creative people and students around you, you know, some of them putting together their own films, right? They want you to act even as a
Yes.
teacher and things like that. And I was so young at the time. I was one of the youngest teachers, or actually the youngest teacher in the school at the time.
I just know he was like
And
the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Everyone's guy.
Yeah.
people thought I was a student before.
Of
You know, right? So, you know, it was really interesting because, you know, in one department, I was teaching people how to put together, you know, fashion magazines and doing photo shoots and so forth. Sometimes even on the weekend because I'm a photographer, so I used to take the studios and do that, and also have the students participate. So, so once you're doing something that you really, really enjoy and love, you know, there's not too much that you're really thinking about, oh, this is too much. This is too much. When I worked other places, I used to work at IBM and, you know, selling computers. And
Yeah.
sometimes that was too much, right?
Yeah.
You know, but when you work in the things and the fields that you love, then it feels a little bit easier.
Wow, that's like a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I love that.
Were you also referencing how we work together and because of him doing what he did and meeting me as a creative? I'll say that
Yes.
I have to call him Mello.
Yeah,
Tiku
Mello,
sounds so
Mello's fine.
strange for me.
Mello's
Yeah,
fine.
because that's my Mello, my
Yeah.
man.
I love it.
But so Mello has a wonderful online course that he does for creatives where he talks about the worth, your worth.
Oh, wow.
And as I'm a I'm a person in progress.
Yes.
I gave away too much because I didn't understand my worth in the beginning, and what he understood about what he saw about my potential and the things that I was giving away more than I needed to. It's not to say that you can't volunteer and work together and barter with different
Yes.
people in the industry. It's just at some point you have to set
Standards for yourself.
you set standards for yourself. And so his course really works with creatives in helping them establish that and not be afraid of asking for what you deserve. And so I think in terms of his work as a teacher, and then seeing me as a creative, he was able to build a lot of structure in terms of being able to honor my worth, honor my work, and just build a brand that is something that can be scalable and something that can be something that you can make a living from.
Absolutely. And sorry, you go ahead.
No, just to add to that, a lot of people really struggle with knowing how to operate, and that's what I had to learn throughout the years. I didn't know exactly how to operate because there was nobody there to show me or teach me, right? And as you go through, one job after the next, you find that people are willing to take, right?
Always.
They want to tell you what they want, and then they were willing to just take it and not really give you anything for it, right? And so you start to question your worth, you start to question yourself, and sometimes people even just put down their art because of it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But what I found is, opposed to blaming everybody else, you have to understand that everybody that has, or everywhere you go that has a company that exists and has been operating for so long, have certain things in place that allow them to still operate.
Yeah.
And what are those things? And sometimes it's very, very simple. So it's a very simple thing, yeah. Some type of a system or something in place, some type of paper, do you give a receipt, things of that nature that you deal with every day. And once you start putting those things in place for yourself, people will move to you as opposed to you having to move.
And it's even so funny, you guys, like you mentioned the course. I'm like, I think I would need the link to the course because I was literally having this conversation recently with my mom. I was like, I don't think there's any creative work I've done up to this point that I can put like a price to. But at the same time, it's also so like discouraging because it's like, bruh.
It is discouraging.
I need to survive.
Right.
So honestly, I think that's even an important work that you're doing, honestly, and I respect that so much. But I definitely need the link, please.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, I'm gonna need the
Absolutely.
link.
And it's worldwide. It's not just a Toronto thing. This is something about who you are as a person and how you see yourself and the work you're doing.
Absolutely.
So it's worth it.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna dive over into Ellie now. I am gonna bring out this book. We're gonna delve into the book. This is Ellie Wade's first book volume or first volume of the book. I'm like, how do I put the English now?
It's okay.
Yes, but it's titled The Adventures of a Recovering Sex Addict, Volume 1, Married Men and Fuckboys. Okay. Why the title? I want to know why the title. What inspired that title, honestly?
I think that we live in a very hypersexual society. I think everything is sexualized. And so we lead that way. And we lead that way without understanding the damage that it can do to your spirit. People talk about the soul ties. I don't want to. You may want to get me to go there, but
Girl,
I'm just
like
saying.
it's literally question 7 here. It's literally right here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to exploit that and kind of turn it on itself. And I would say that I really believed that I was a love addict, and in order to get love, I would barter for it with sex. For a lot of things, not everybody. I'm not an addict in that way, but the part that some people don't understand is there's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with being hypersexual. When it falls into the realm of addiction, too much alcohol, too much drugs, too much anything, and you are losing control of your life, then it starts to become more of an addiction, and that's where the problem is. And I will genuinely say that I had a love addiction, and it didn't matter what it cost me to get it.
Oh,
And that's where it caused the problem. Married Men and F-Boys being the first volume is because that was a lot of people that were allowing me to be the love addict and giving me false promises, making me think that that's what all I could deserve.
yeah.
And so they were my teachers essentially. They
Wow.
weren't really nothing about my books throw men under the bus.
Yes.
Because men have their own complexities, and we often as women will disregard their experience and speak for them.
I'm
But you
like,
can't speak for them.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but just even as you're saying this now, this was a question I was going to ask at the end. By the end of your book,
At the end of the book,
let me tell you,
we're just gonna fast forward through all the stories.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like, now you're on this. I just have to go because there's a sentence.
Okay.
At the end of the Adventures of Recovering Sex Addict Volume 1, Married Men and Fuckboys on page 75, you say, but healing is a process, not a destination. I want them to know that dick just isn't enough.
Did I say that? Wow.
Sorry, that line struck me, and even like with what you're saying now, because there's a discussion we're having, like, how do you draw the line between like sexual liberation and then self-destruction?
Yeah, well, you know when you can't look at yourself in the mirror or you feel bad about the things that you're doing, you've crossed the line, right? If you're having a hard time with the choices that you're making sexually, then you've crossed the line. If you don't know how to have a conversation and ask for what you want, you've crossed the line. Maybe you shouldn't be. I mean, we do it anyway. We do things, we say that we're going to start a diet and by Wednesday we're already have eaten half the kitchen. But, we know better doesn't mean we do better. So that statement of when you know better, you do better, that's not always true. When you've made a choice to do better, you'll do better, especially when you know how.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and now like I know you're also like a podcast host, you're a writer, and you're also a story coach.
Yes.
Very,
I
very
love the story coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been it's newer. The story coaching is newer, and a lot of my clients come from the U.S. because Toronto is its own interesting. It's its own interesting construct, but yeah, I put it out there that I can help you. I'm a great brainstormer. So if you have an idea, because people can also just book a session called Pick Your Brain based on my website. And whatever you're thinking about, you can literally go in there, book an hour with me, and I'll just be like your best friend picking my brain about like, I have this idea, I'm not really sure. And then I'll be like, wow, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Because that's how my creative brain works. I like to make a lot of associations, and people don't realize how great they are. They're so brilliant.
Honestly, and I think what you're doing is very, very important. And I think as a creative, like you definitely always need like that second voice.
Absolutely.
Just like, okay, yeah, probably let's refine here and there.
And you don't have to be refined. And that's why people book with me. Because it allows you the freedom to make mistakes there so that when you create the product, you're feeling really good about it.
I'll just add that everybody has some type of creative process.
Yes.
I thought of an idea. They have, it's almost like brainstorming. You have things all over the place. You're not sure how to put it all together and put the string or the lines where they need to go. And Ellie actually, she knows how to get your mind moving and being able, and the way how she, I don't know, somehow she just knows how to take in all that information. She'll remember it, and she'll start asking questions and figuring ways on how to work your mind in the direction that you need to go. And once you start feeling that and you have that direction, you just feel more powerful about yours and confident about yourself and what it is that you want to do and want to put out, right? So that's what I've found, from a lot of her students that she's worked with, and including myself too. So yeah.
You guys, this is a power couple here. I'm gonna be needing both links now. Like, Neil. You guys are about to just finish my account.
It's all good.
So even just talking about that, like, cause you're like I said, across multiple, like you do your art across multiple platforms, across multiple mediums. How are you able to, kind of fit each? I mean, there's not like a particular standard that it should be done, but how are you able to kind of be flexible to each of this? Like you have a book, you have a podcast, you have your show Testy AF. I know you're also a trauma facilitator. How do you balance all this?
To me, it's all extensions of the same thing. It's the learning how to live with your healing. I talk about a healing lifestyle. And I've been granted the opportunity to, yes, I came from U of T and I worked there for 13 years. But, in a sense, getting sexually assaulted, getting into car accidents, getting sick actually gave me the space to heal myself. And as I began my healing journey, I was doing almost 34 to 40 hours a month of therapy, physical therapy, mental emotional therapy, learning how to set boundaries. I was learning so much about myself. And this was stemming from COVID, where the whole world kind of stopped and provided that space. And when we were able to start to slowly go back to different things in our society, I realized that I need to keep healing. This is whether I go back to work or not. I need to continue a way of living within my healing, and not in a, when people talk about healing, it sounds so dreadful and like heavy, and so that's why I also tag on let the adventures begin, because I'm a very adventurous person. I used to be very active, hiking. I can't wait to jump out of a plane. And
Wow.
he's not so eager, but
He's mellow.
I'm
He's
not
more
mellow.
mellow.
Yeah, I'm very much more the one that's
Yeah.
excited about, just everything. I
Yeah.
love to talk to people. There's just so much that life has to give. And if I allow my trauma and the things that I've been with to define this experience, it doesn't feel well. And you have a temperature inside of you of what feels good. And there's feel good, and then there's feel good with responsibility. So it's not just being reckless abandon. It's about, communion. It's art. Living creatively is a process in healing and living every day. And so that is a co-creation with your creator. And so to your point, that's what allows me to do. It's like, oh, this situation calls for a podcast. Oh, I need to write a book for this. I just want to communicate to people a way of thinking that is different than what they've experienced, in a very very honest, very truthful, genuine.
Yes.
And I always used the word vulnerable until I heard Jason Wilson talking about vulnerability and what it defines. And so I will take on the understanding that transparency for me is really what is needed in our community, because we keep so many things hidden.
Yes.
And we don't talk about the things that need to be spoken about. And then people live in shame, they feel guilty, embarrassment, and then you can't feel empowered from that space. And we need to be empowered. Our children need us to be empowered. So that's why.
Wow. I'm just, and you both speak so beautifully, but even like you mentioning vulnerability, like I said, I've been reading this book and I've gone like a very far way, and I can't help but like ask, like, were there some personal elements in here, and how were you able to balance like being vulnerable, especially in the African community,
Yeah.
and telling your truth essentially.
Yeah, well, that's when you talk about the cover of the book. The title is one thing, but you also see that Callie Church is this character who I've created to represent me and so many other women. And she's naked on the cover because that's how she writes. She writes from a naked place. She writes from a vulnerable place. But you also notice, if you look closer to the book, that she's looking back at the person. She's not just being objectified. And this is very academic in a sense of how you identify art in a sense. But when you have a person in a picture and that person isn't making eye contact with the audience, that person is more objectified. You get to gaze upon her. You get to look at that person and pinpoint things about them that they may or may not want to be seen. But in a way, she's looking back at you. So it's not just, so she's more of a subject as well. So she's objectifying herself, but she's doing it from her subjectivities, her experiences. It's who she is
Gives
as a
her more
person.
power, definitely.
It gives her more power.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. And so like, I'm like, how do I ask this? because I've been reading this book, Ellie. Let me tell you, we're having a good time reading it. So.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Having a wonderful time reading it, but like with your personal, with your elements of like your personal experiences, are you okay like sharing some of them?
Absolutely. I mean, Callie Church is a character, and I put myself into the character, but I put a lot of the girls that I've spoken to in my circle into the character. I've done so many interviews with people around cocktails with LA, late night cocktails, that, you know, it's fun to heal when you have a healthy imagination as well. So you use real life situations and then you embellish it to make a point. How much embellishment? Maybe there's very little. Maybe there's a lot. Maybe some stories have more than others. But the point of it is to go on the journey with her. And there is, I always call this, the books that I'm writing right now, self-help erotica. So you get that guilty pleasure. You love the stories of, you know, oh my gosh, she's off the wagon and she's having a great time. It looks like I am.
I think what I love the most about the book is just so how honest and realistic it is. Like I could relate a lot to a lot of the feelings Callie discussed about. Like, I think it was even like some of her experiences with some of these men, and then she's like feeling like a lot of shame, you know, towards it. Now, even going more into like sex, like generally, like, I really think it's unfair how society criticizes women, you know, who are just like, for just existing like sexually more than they, you know, criticize men. And I felt that reality even in the book. So honestly, kudos.
Thank you. It's honestly, it's writing from a place of being naked, of being transparent, looking at a situation and describing it for what it is without trying. I don't need to look for words to paint the picture. It's literally the experience. You can watch videos, you can hear what people are saying online. These are real stories. I think there was a woman who became very popular for telling the story of this narcissistic man, this liar, and people were watching, and every week she had a new segment of her story. People want to hear that. One, because maybe that's not their experience, but they're like, this cannot be real. Another reason might be it's an escape. It's like, wow, I can't believe that. Or you might know a girlfriend or a cousin or somebody who's going through that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, women can be protective of each other, and we want to hear these stories and want to understand.
I think, yes.
But I also believe that men have a voice. And so I keep preferencing that because men are sub-characters in the book.
Yes.
But you think that
Dante, Aziz, young Mr. Nige. I am when I read young Mr. Nige, I was like, Ellie, like Nigerians, why are we always disgracing ourselves everywhere? We entered her book too, and you should.
But he's not disgracing himself. He's, you know, a lot of people are opportunistic. They see something, and to Mello's point about, you know, being a creative and not owning your worth. Callie Church did not know her worth in the beginning.
Yeah, and
she chose relationships based on her understanding of herself.
Her experience with young Mr. Nige infuriated me so much because, like, you know, when she was like, he was like, oh, I don't know if he said, or it was like just like you, like, right when you're like, oh, like he didn't think, how do I put it now, like, the sex. It wasn't like as sexually exciting. I was like, what does that mean?
Which Nigerian man we're gonna get in trouble today?
I was like, how about you just have a high sex drive, okay? Leave my girl alone.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a high
absolutely.
sex drive.
No.
We make ourselves feel ashamed for things that we like pleasure.
Absolutely.
And pleasure isn't wrong, but it can get distorted.
Speaking of pleasure, you're right. Like, Callie experiences like cunnilingus quite.
Oh yes, Julie.
Okay. Julie Mango.
Every woman should name her vagina. I'm just saying it.
Sorry. Okay, so that everyone is not lost. So you guys, we're referring to the book and character. In the book, Callie refers to her vagina as her Julie Mango. And her Julie Mango gets a lot of love in this book, okay?
Yes.
So what would you say to men who don't believe in it? Because I was like, girl, like, how?
I think that Well, see, we were just listening to something online about chemistry, connection, and what was the other C?
Connection and
There was a difference between chemistry, connection, and something. I don't know what it was. But the thing is, if you're going into a relationship for sexual satisfaction and you've placed yourself with somebody who you're not connected with around that need,
Yeah.
that relationship isn't going to last.
But like it's as a woman, like there's so much shame for even communicating like some certain like these ones. These
Why is there
desires.
shame though?
Hi, girl. I don't know.
I don't feel no shame. If I want it, I want it.
But like, how would you advise a girl or a young girl like to be able to speak up for herself? Like,
Yeah, because that's really ultimately what we're speaking about. We're talking about self-acceptance.
Okay.
We're talking about being able to communicate. And if you're in a relationship where you don't know how to communicate, that's an indicator that you may not want to go in that direction sexually yet with that individual or ever. Because if they don't respect the things that you're saying and you can't communicate around it, that's a red flag that you should not ignore.
I'll add as well that well, anytime that you get into a relationship, right? Not every person speaks about these types of things to each other, right? So they expect that you would just know. You would expect that, the person just knows when you're feeling something and wanting something, right?
yeah,
And if they don't know, or if they, they're not catching the cues and things of that nature, you tend to get upset,
yes,
right? As opposed to, saying, hey, this
Let's
is
communicate.
yeah, let's communicate about it, right? So just always knowing that your partner is not always going to know exactly, and they're supposed to know shouldn't be a thing that you expect either, because your expectations
Yes.
will lead to disappointments, right? So not all expectations, but certain expectations will lead to disappointments. So you'd want to make sure that you're, getting into a better habit of communicating and learning how to communicate, right? Because we don't communicate the same way, right? So as men, we have to figure out ways on how to communicate to women and women vice versa,
Yeah.
to make sure that we're talking to things.
Have you ever heard the expression, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater? That's this
yes.
old expression that they had.
Yeah.
Nasty people back in the day. I won't go there. I can, but I won't go there.
Yeah.
But the gist of that is, you meet somebody who has a lot of things that you love about that person, and then they don't do that thing that you really want sexually, for example. Do you throw away the whole relationship? Well, just like you may not go into all sexual acts right off the rip with that person, you want to see how you grow with that person individually. Maybe over time, they'll come to understand lovemaking in a different way as a result of giving them the space to grow sexually. Maybe that's something and that takes that communication. It takes trust. It definitely doesn't take aggression towards him and just shoving his head where he doesn't want it.
No, that's fair.
And let's be honest, it's not something, a lot of people learn to do that through porn, through social media, through my books that say this is what the woman wants.
Yes.
So there's a lot of women that don't want that. Callie Church does, just for the record.
Let's clarify.
Yeah, let's just clarify. Callie Church wants
Wants
that.
it to.
But if Callie fell for somebody who did not want to do that, she would, depending on where she was in her life and what that relationship meant for her, I believe that she would learn how to say and allow space for that person to grow. You have to try it. I always tell my children, you got to try it. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to keep doing it.
Wow.
But, and not that. I'm not talking about my children like doing that.
Kylie's like, okay, sorry.
Okay, people confuse Callie and Ellie all the time.
Sorry. No, Ellie's like, I'm talking about try rice today with
Yes, not
pasta
just
tomorrow,
pasta.
okay? That's it.
Just for the record.
Yeah. But sorry, I'm like, let me let you finish it. Though.
And that's what it is. You have to allow space for people to grow.
So, and I think the reason why, because you ask why don't they like cunnilingus? But I think it's just this culture of sorry.
Sorry, got me
Okay.
coughing now.
You're good. I think also this culture of
Thanks.
she's good. You good? Okay. But sorry, I was gonna say like I think the culture of what's it called now? Like one night stand, fuck buddies. You good?
Sorry.
Let's give you time.
It's the
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
It's definitely the questions, you know.
All the questions.
I'm like, I've been chill,
She's
guys.
not sneezing yet, so that's
I'm not
good.
sneezing. Thank
She's
you.
not
You
allergic.
good now?
I think so.
No worries.
I
at all.
think so. Yeah, the F-boy era.
Yeah, I think that really has like messed up this, because like I hear you saying like communicate, but it's like if it's a fuck buddy, I'm just like, I probably will see it tomorrow. What's the point?
But maybe-
Communicating.
Yeah, well, exactly. I tackle that in the second book where
Okay.
she
I'm gonna get into that next.
she pops off with a guy. She has this amazing sexual experience, finds herself doing something she's never done before. When the sex is over, he leaves the room, comes back, and he grabs his phone. And you hear her go through the experience of, man, how do I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Do I tell him? He didn't come here for that. We understand that this is just
You
supposed
can't
to
cry
be.
to this man, okay?
Yeah, he didn't sign up for that.
Yes,
he didn't
exactly.
sign up to emotionally regulate
Yes,
me. He signed up to benefits,
yeah.
right, of this friendship. And so you have to own your stuff. A lot of women, sorry, ladies, we have a hard time being accountable to what we say we can do, and then we turn around and want more. And you can't make him wrong for that. You showed up there in that space. I say all of that not to put men on a pedestal because, it's a give and take. What do you want out of this life? What do you want out of your relationships? And if you're not honest with yourself, it's very difficult to move forward and get what you want in a very honest way, in the love that you want for yourself.
I'll add this, for men as well. So
Mello, speak to the men.
yeah. Well, the thing is if women have a hard time sometimes knowing what they want, they're trying to figure it out, right?
Yes.
Men at times are trying to figure it out as well, right? So sometimes you might look to the men for the answers, and the men might not have the answers yet, right? So I just wanted to at least
Yeah, they're human beings.
that.
We really treat them
Yeah.
utilitarian, like pick them up and treat them like whatever. It's not your vibrator, it's a human being.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but also,
That's why some women can rather be with their vibrator.
devil's advocate, I also feel like some men, just allow themselves
Yes.
in that way. But anyways, I'm like, Chrissy, we're not on a men rant today.
No, but it's very important because our community, we do this whole black men, black women thing a lot. And it's because there's so much pain there. And that's because people aren't being honest about what it is that they want. We keep choosing badly and blaming each other for the choices that we're making. You can be alone, and it might hurt to be alone for a while, but go pick up a hobby. You don't know. You got to do other things than just pine away looking for the man to fulfill anything else that you want, and vice versa.
Yeah, and that's one thing I loved about Kali, even in the book, because she was still living her life. Like,
Oh, yeah.
my girl was going to Grenada, going on boat cruises. I was like, girl, I love
The
that.
adventures begin.
Yeah, honestly, I really like, that's one thing I really would say like I took from Kali, just still being able to live her life. And I love that she was also very forgiving of herself. She didn't stay too long on things. Like, she allowed herself to move on.
Yeah. Well, to stir up the pot, it's because she's saved.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get saved and be a sex addict at the same time? That's also taboo, right? When you talk about, she has a very strong relationship with God. And she still would slip off the wagon and end up on somebody she wasn't supposed to be on.
Like Miss was it Aziz?
Aziz,
from
that-
church that she
Aziz
left
from
church for.
Oh, yes.
I was like, girl, come on, don't let the
Go
Holy
back
Ghost
to
catch
church.
you now.
But
Okay.
if by definition she is a Christian,
Yes.
and Jesus died for her, then she has to allow for process to happen where she grows and her reflection becomes more like her creator. Who she is in this moment is not who she is in book 2, is not who she is in book 3.
Okay.
Right? So she's growing as a person. When we take people's lives and keep a snapshot of where you met them and don't allow people to grow, which is what we do with each other, then we're the one losing out because people can grow into some amazing human beings.
Yeah, I'm like, you're talking to me, Ellie. I'm like, cool.
I'm talking to everybody, myself included.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's so hard, but
It is hard. We're hard on ourselves.
It's being a human being is fun. But even now, going more into like the sex conversation, so I was like, even like with the sex talk, I wanted to know, like, for both of you, when and who do you think should be having this conversation, like the sex talk, like introducing a person to like what sex is?
What do you mean, like a young person?
I would say young. Yeah, I would say
Like,
young.
how do you know when you're ready to have sex?
So my question is like, to what age do you think you should even be talking to young kids about sex, and who should you like? Is it the school? Is it the parents? Like, who should be having this conversation?
Well, for me, you can, and you'll know he has younger. We have a blended family, so he has younger kids, and I have like mid to older.
Okay.
But you have to. I don't know about other parents, but I pay attention to what my children are looking at, what is around them. So if as soon as they're being exposed to something that they need to have some kind of critical understanding around, we start having the conversation.
Okay.
And that conversation can look like very different things. Like I'm a big proponent. I love movies. I use creativity to teach.
Yes.
Right. So I would send my sons movies or Instagram posts that make a point about something that's in favor of his empowerment and him understanding himself. So one of the first conversations I had, first of all, I was very happy that my son was able to tell me that he had sex. He's now 23.
It's all right.
I'm like,
So, and not to blow up your spot, I won't even say your name.
oh no!
But
But
he
damn, and
admitted-
then you have a 23-year-old.
yeah, I have a 23.
Girl, your body is tea. Damn, like,
Don't kill me
What?
right now. Man.
no. I'm like, no, you guys look amazing. You both look amazing. You both. I feel like I need to go to the gym
Don't
right now,
worry.
girl.
You're good.
Girl, that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
But when he told me
Yeah.
that he had sex, it was great to hear that that's what he felt comfortable. But it was also like, oh, cringe. Like, my God, my son's telling me this. The reason why it was cringe was because he was like, I don't have to. So I'm like, am I going to meet her? And he said, I don't have to wife her to like have sex. And I'm just like, oh God, he's become one of the people in my book. He's like out there in these streets. And I'm like, why?
He's a young boy.
He was a young boy. So I had to, when he said that, I had to make it very plain to him that just because your penis becomes erect and you want that, you have a desire for that person, doesn't mean you love that person. And most importantly, that stimulus is coming from you. You're excited about who you are and you want to share that with someone else. Nobody is making you feel that way. You're the one. And so a lot of men think that when a woman is wet, they're killing the game, they're doing that thing. No, she's feeling herself.
Yes.
And that's what allows her to be, stimulated. Of course, it's a give and take and there's other things, but it's really important to meet people where they are. So my 12-year-old is very different than the 23-year-old. He gets uncomfortable about these things. I see he's looking at things online. So we watch, for example, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes.
Will Smith is like a predator on that show. I don't know if you realize it, but every episode is about some girl or something he wants to. And so I ask them questions that make them have critical conversations. When did you notice this? Did you and then show him the definitions of misogyny, different things, and so he can recognize what that is, and then they have to decide ultimately what kind of person they want to be. How do they want to live their life? And it's not for me to judge. I can only present to them what I think might be good for them, for their own mental health and their own well-being. And that it's not good to just sleep with a lot of different people because soul ties, because of what you're losing. You're giving too much of yourself without understanding your worth. Those are conversations that come as a result of building that trust, allowing them to tell you things that might be hard to hear. But they're getting it. They're getting the information anyway, so they might as well know how to engage with it critically.
Yes.
Right?
As for men, because I'll just use the Fresh Prince as well. He's at an age where he's trying to figure out himself. He's very awkward, even though he seems confident. and he's trying to figure out ways on how to, interact with the opposite sex. And if he realizes in the shows, he gets turned down quite a bit,
Often.
things of that nature, right? Which humbles him to a degree, right? And gets him to learn a little bit more about himself as he goes, right? As you go through all the episodes and all the seasons and stuff, he starts to mellow out, right? He's not as active
Yes.
as he was before, right? So that's how men are. Even though we might be labeled as maybe predators or whatever else and things of that nature, right? It may seem like that, right? And because of how men, in a sense, portray women, right? But we have our own insecurities, and we're trying to figure out our way as we go along, and we're trying to, stand on our own 2 feet at the same time, right? So it's all a balancing act, I think. For
But let's
both
not
sides.
be like, I just want to state that there are just some people that are just bad people.
Yeah, there is.
And
yeah.
there's people that will utilize that information for wrong.
100.
Which is why with his 5-year-old, we're very protective of her because she is just like, cute is not like the word cute had a picture, like she's definitely there, like right next to it, like she is beyond beautiful and adorable. And then she's sweet as well. And we're just watching because at some point that innocence changes.
Yes.
And so we're watching her. And so when people see her, they want to touch her. They want to like, come give me a hug and kiss me here. And because she's so cute.
Yeah. Oh.
But I want to find, well, that's to your point of how do you start to tell a woman, how does she, when fast forward, close your eyes, your ears, Dad. Fast forward to when one day she's going to want to have sex.
I'll be there. I'll be right beside her. Right in front of her.
Listen, I'm gonna be right
That's
there.
just weird. That's just weird.
Listen, no.
What are you doing?
Ellie's like, girl, I got you. You hung on to this lady here.
Yeah. But the conversation we have with her at 5 is what's going to enable her to ask for what she wants later, which is simply, do you want that person to hug you? Do you know that you can use your words to say, no, thank you? Like you can give them a dap, you can find different ways to interact in a way so that she knows that I don't like that. And if somebody does cross your boundary, hug her and kiss her, she like, good for you, you got that freebie, but you can say to that person,
Don't do that again.
yeah, don't do that. No, thank you. Right? So, and just having her practice and backing her up with it.
I have constant conversations with my daughter, right?
They have a beautiful relationship.
Constant conversations, in front of others, behind closed doors as well, just so she knows that she could always talk to me about certain things. And not that I know everything, I ask a lot of questions so that she could answer them as well, right? I grew up where you couldn't ask any question at all.
Like, I think that's
Right?
one thing most of our generation lost. That like that having that trustful relationship with your parents, like just like you're saying, your son could call you like when he had sex. Like I think that's honestly so empowering. There's people that even went to probably not the right way and they have nobody to talk to. Like I remember there was even just I was listening to a podcast and this lady was saying how she had gone out and had sex and had fallen pregnant, unfortunately, unknowing that because like nobody had really guided her on what to do. And she was in that position where she was like she didn't know she wanted to do an abortion because she couldn't tell her parents.
Right.
And then I think the man was like, encouraging her to do the abortion, but she didn't want to do it. But somehow they lost the baby. And she could not like reconcile that feeling. Or she almost started feeling like, oh, was it me that caused like the loss of the child? But she can't even talk to family. Like this, like that kind of person that's a whole like.
Yeah, they live in shame and it can kill them and alienates them and it actually really reduces their opportunity for their life chances.
Exactly. That's always I feel like that's a life ruined right there.
Absolutely.
But and honestly, I think parents, just even from hearing from you both, I think it's important to have an open relationship with your child that allows them to just be able to confide in you, not for you to judge, just confide. Confidentiality is very important.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
I'm just tell you and shut up.
Especially with boys and consent, what you talked about, consent is very important for them to understand at a very young age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even I was even thinking, like, do you think like there's an age period where you kind of have this talk with girls and it's different for boys, or would you say like you generally do it?
That conversation includes both conversation about boys and girls in the conversation. I'm not telling my sons about just them as men. I'm explaining how women are as well, or not generalizing, but like, in a sense generalizing, and things to look out for. So these are the different types that you might come in contact with, and these are some of the things that you may want to think about as you pursue that. Yeah.
I know this isn't the same thing because I had to have that conversation with my sister growing up, right? And because I was put in a position where I had to, look after my brother, my sister, and so forth. My sister is, 10 years apart from me. But I had to have those discussions with her because I wanted to know everything when it came on to my sister and making sure that she was protected, right? So just like LA, my sister called me out of all people to tell me when her first time was. And just like LA, it cringed.
Melo's
Right?
like, ew.
What are you talking about? But what's important is that our youth have somewhere to go to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If they come to
Yes.
you, that means they respect you.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a huge thing. And I don't know how much respect a lot of youth have nowadays compared to, before.
Yes.
But, we need to close that gap somehow and continue
Yes.
the communication and conversation
yes. I think,
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very important. Okay, now, taking it even further.
Oh, God.
Going deeper.
Guys,
How deep can you go?
literally.
I thought we were deep already.
Okay, now I kind of want to talk about masturbation, especially and especially from like a female perspective. I also love to hear from you, but
I'm not talking.
I plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. I told you I'd plead the fifth at some point.
Well, like I'm using that now. Okay, but I even want to I think masturbation from the female perspective. What's your opinion?
I'm such a different person. So, and it's not because I'm an expert on it, but I came into masturbation very late because when I first tried to touch myself when I was younger, and my aunt saw that I wasn't doing anything. I was just holding my vagina, watching TV. You know how a man can just sit and they put their hands in their pants, and they're just watching the TV.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
Yes.
So I was really young when I first, cupped myself and just was watching TV.
Yeah.
And this woman shamed me in front of all of my cousins and made it such a thing. Yeah, she was like, "Remove your hand," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" While I'm holding myself, "Look, my hand's good. And then she fully was like, "The other hand." I can still hear it. That's why I say it. And so it was really shameful how touching yourself came to my awareness. Plus, I was being touched by other people. I came to know myself sexually before I learned my own sexuality. So that's why it wasn't until May 2020 was the first time I ever
Wow, Ellie.
masturbated. And every girl that looks at me says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they do that. So I understand that it's a whole vibe, but in truth, from 2020 moving forward, it's this beautiful exploration of yourself and what you can't communicate to your man what you want or what other options are available if you don't know what you like for yourself. Now, I know some men feel, intimidated by that. And if the woman is, wanting the vibrator more, one, she doesn't know how to talk to you. Or two, it's just that she's getting stimulated in a way that actual, penetration doesn't provide to her. Doesn't mean that you are not doing your thing, whatever. It also has a lot to do with the communication with your partner. You can have lovely love making and you're passionate and all of those things, but then she still wants to go and stimulate herself. That's the person who isn't getting a lot of the Julie attention that they need. And so they're finding other ways to get that, because it's hard to get that kind of stimulation without doing that or using a vibrator.
I hope you guys are hearing. Okay.
Yeah, no, a majority of women do not get off. They're faking usually if they're just doing penetration. The likelihood of them And if they do, then that's individual to them. That's not even so much what they're doing, but it's also the way that the penis is curved to your body. And if she knows how to maneuver herself, that's like why some women like to be on top more than others. There's all different ways to try to hit the spot, but it's always easier when you just eat the Julie mango.
You heard her.
It's just easier if you really. And so, younger men, I went in the F-boy thing. Actually, it's weird because I'm older, but I kind of cross generations because I look younger. So a lot of the younger men now are very more into like, let's please her, where there's a little bit older younger men that aren't so into that. They would rather they're more selfish. They're more selfish with their sex.
That was another line in your book that struck me.
Yeah, guy, that's not cool, man.
You're like, with selfish men.
Done that.
With selfish men.
I rebuked that one.
You're like, with selfish and toxic men, I knew to follow their lead. But with men that wanted to please me, it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm used to the toxicity, right? So it's like I know how to handle myself. I know how to manage myself. As my Alana, big up to you again, she was like, maybe you're more comfortable in your trauma and you're not used to actually speaking up for yourself towards. So you have to go. It's a journey. Honestly, letting your living be your healing. Healing is not just about, emotional scars. Yeah. It's about accepting a lot. It's a radical acceptance of yourself in very many facets of who you are as a person. So definitely, some people like dildos. I'm not a dildo person. It's all personal choice and exposure and experience. And if you want to go on that journey, I encourage it, because the more you know about yourself and your body, the better off you are when you're going to learn the communication to share it with your partner. And just like life, explore. Go and have fun. Explain. Go and find out. Do I like this? Do I don't like this? Yes. If you want to know about us, one thing. Hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing. As I kind of I won't make full eye contact.
Safe space. Yeah. Just look at me.
I won't make full eye contact. But there's a
She
thing.
said it's a safe space.
But one thing that I wanted to do with him very early was to blindfold him, and for him to blindfold me, and just see what you like, what you don't like, right? And just be honest. Yeah. If you like it, then say you like it. If you don't like it, then say you don't like it. And then find, if it's something that's really important to that person, where can we find a middle ground?
Yeah. Does dick size matter?
I don't think dick size matters. If it's too big, it's actually not. You read about that, right? It's just like,
Kali had it going on. She was like, no, we got to do this another day.
Yeah, because
the car is too small.
Well, some things are also too big. Yeah. Right? It's not cool. Luckily I had my children already, but some things are just too big. When you find the right man and the connection is right, his dick is always going to feel like the perfect dick to you. And you're just going to make love to that thing because it feels the way it's supposed to feel. And so, no, I don't think dick size matters. Obviously, if it's too small, then there's other things that he definitely don't be having a dick this big and then say you don't eat Julie, because I'm sorry, you will.
Heard Miss Ellie Wade, okay?
Or find something. You gotta find something else.
Even if it's not small, you still gotta make love to the Julie mango.
Yeah, the Julie mango is important for us, for me, and for
I'm talking for women, okay? This is woman power over here, women okay? Power. I'm representing girlies. I'm doing this for us, so not for me.
And get creative. There's nothing wrong. Find out what is not good to be placed on the vagina, because not everything. Absolutely. I'm sure you're gonna have a sex therapist on here soon enough, and they'll explain certain things that are it's not healthy. We see that movie Girl Trip, where the pineapple thing.
Oh yeah.
But if that man had a cut anywhere, a scratch, that's gonna hurt.
And I think even in the film, he had a reaction from
I'm sure.
Entire, he had a reaction.
Yeah, okay. Pay attention. Just pay attention.
Okay, and moving further down, should body count matter, and does it matter to you?
That's a really good question for Melo.
Okay. See, he looks over and is like, who is Melo?
body
It's
count.
like,
You know that phrase actually started to come out just recent, and then I never really thought about body count before. But I'll say that just to tag on to what we were talking about before, knowing yourself a lot more, knowing what you like, what you don't like actually matters, right? And that would, lend to the type of relationships you have out there, right? So even if you're out there just to, mess around, or if you're out there to, have a relationship, the more you know yourself the more that you're going to either allow or disallow certain things, in your life. So I don't know if I answered the question safely,
let
but
me tell you, we had this. We
He's
had
so
this.
diplomatic.
I know. He's always so good at
Very
that.
diplomatic.
Let me tell you about Love is Blind. We had this big, not because we had a disagreement. I don't think we had a disagreement, but we had this big thing about Love is Blind.
Also, sorry, Mike.
Sorry, because this is important, right? So Love is Blind is a big phenomenon right now.
Yeah.
And so the most recent season, there was a girl who had a friends with benefits situation before she went on the show.
Yeah.
And then ended up finding the love of her life.
Oh,
and
damn.
I don't know how you picked that guy. Just in case I ever meet you, I really want to understand. We need to do some work because that should have been the person.
Love is blind, girl. Love is blind. It's blind.
No, it's not blind, and that's why you broke up, because it's not blind. Because the reality is when you could see, right? She got to, but she was basically saying that he couldn't get past the fact that she had this hookup before she came on the show.
he was a douchebag from the start. That was something that I was able to identify, and we talked about it from the very start. He was a douchebag.
But I was like, have you not ever had a friends' benefit situation? And then look, you found me afterwards. If it was the day before, right? So we were going back and forth about that, because it's like, yes, of course she could have a hookup with someone and then find someone she loves the next day. That guy was just making excuses.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
I agree. I agree.
Don't you think?
Guys, Ellie has her plan with this question. I think maybe we let them. But
I just hang my hat right now.
He's the best.
I'm sorry.
He's the best partner ever.
No, I honestly, I love you guys' relationship. Like, it's so playful. Honestly, it's even so young. Honestly,
Play.
Like,
So important.
It's giving so much like young energy. I love it. Honestly, I'm like, Melo, you need to do a masterclass for this man in my generation. I don't know what's happening over here.
You guys take yourselves really seriously.
I don't even know that we even do. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I find people in general take themselves very seriously, and I don't understand why, especially in the bedroom. That's the last place you want to take yourself seriously, because too many things can happen that you're not in control of. Sounds, liquids. You have to laugh at yourself when those things are. She's crying.
Before.
It's okay.
I need a second.
He's going to love you anyway.
No. I'm really going to go damn about him. Oh, she's here, but I'm like, okay, but it's my Julie Mango. I'm a money. That's it.
And by the way, at the back of each book, there is a glossary. So you will be able to pinpoint something and see. Yeah, you can look up what Julie is. It's actually very scientific. But it's also there. There's Julie Mango.
Okay, so in Ellie's glossary, Julie Mango is a fruit produced by the tropical tree Magnifera indica. The Julie variety is known to be especially sweet by many throughout the Caribbean.
Yes. And is also the name of Julie, of Callie's vagina.
Yeah.
But you know how it says the indica thing? I don't know if there's weed smokers out there. That if you have mango and about 30 minutes later smoke weed, your high is going to be that much more intense.
Elevated.
So just be aware of that. And if you want to bring it down because it's too intense, then you can have something like pepper, something with pepper in it, and it will bring it back down. You'll bring your high back down. Not that you need to know this information, but I learned it on my podcast, so I thought I'd share because I heard the word indica in there.
But you
and
see what the Julie Mango can do?
Oh, Julie's
take you high.
Take you very high.
Take you high.
The highest you've ever been.
Okay. Now let's talk about first times.
First time?
No. Okay, no.
My first time was terrible.
Yes. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Actually, yes. I apologize. No,
No,
but
don't you don't have to
Yeah.
apologize. I've heard terrible and wonderful stories about people's first times. Did you have a good first time? Was it awkward?
Well, you know a little bit about even my past, so I wouldn't even say it was necessarily good either. But you know, I don't know what I'm answering right now, but
Here's something that I can tell you to
is,
okay,
is, it,
yeah.
is it that you're asking us about our first time, or are you asking something in particular
yeah,
about first times?
because also what I'm alluding
Yeah.
to is, especially for women, like there's this conception that like there would be like pain during your first time. I'm like,
Yes, there
Okay.
can be.
yeah,
Especially because if you're with somebody who doesn't, I mean, I don't know what it's like for everybody, but mine was more forceful. So yes, there was a lot of pain. I actually interviewed somebody, a man who was number 19 of 21 children. And he told me his experience of having sex for the first time. And he said the very first time he ejaculated, it actually hurt him. So maybe that there's just something about, the
okay.
first times that are a little bit bumpier than other times.
Because that's kind of my question. I'm like, is it also the same for men? Like, do men feel any pain, or is it just like
I don't think
Yeah,
everyone
men-
does.
Yeah, men can. You know, I think everyone's different.
Okay.
Like Ellie was explaining earlier. Everyone is different. Everybody has different body chemistry. Everybody has a different way of what they like, what they don't like, right? So yeah, men could experience pain at times or feel discomfort.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it right now. Like, yeah, that thing could hurt if you've never done that before and you're trying to break through.
yeah?
Yeah, you're going to have pain. You're just going to have pain.
Okay, and then I think now we're kind of getting towards the end, but the female orgasm. Do you mind talking about that? Because there's a conception that like a lot of women don't like you said, don't come like from penetration,
Yeah.
and even like the concept of squirting. It's
Oh,
like,
yes. I had a whole show on squirting.
yeah, like why why can some people do it and why can't others do it? Or how does a girl get to that point?
Some
This
people
is
are like,
another
ooh, I got to pull up my
conversation.
chair for this one.
They want a step by step.
Well, you need to feel relaxed. A lot of people don't feel relaxed when they're having sex, so that already takes you out of the situation. You also have to feel stimulated and aroused, and then you need the right angle. And squirting can have either like a trickle effect, or it can have like a full ejaculation, like how a guy can it can come projectile. Women can projectile with squirting, but not all squirting looks like that. Sometimes it's trickle, or there's just like this enormous amount of liquid that comes out. And so it all depends, I guess, on the.
Because there's always this image that like squirting is like everything is like everywhere. Is like waterfalls.
It can be that way. So Kegling is a thing that a woman can do to strengthen her pelvic wall. That if she is a squirter, it can turn into that. She has to be really stimulated and feel completely relaxed and has to trust that person. That's been my experience and the experience I've had with a sex therapist that I interviewed. So that was what she was saying were the dynamics of that. And so the more relaxed you are, and the best angle. So like when the penis goes in, if it curves like this and the clitoris is there and it can get that fine rubbing, you're more likely to get that penetration. And you can have a penis within the vagina that squirts and will squirt so hard that it actually forcefully removes the penis from her from inside. Are you looking? Are those goals? Okay, we don't need to. You plead the fifth. I know.
Exactly. Can neither confirm or deny.
It is and it's an experience where you feel like you're peeing yourself, but you're not peeing yourself. I read up on it. Don't worry, guys. She's not peeing on you.
Like there's some Twitter threads I go through and it's just like, oh, guys, I met this girl squirt and the girl's just like, yeah, I just peed, guy.
But now it's also like fishing stories where they're like, I made a girl squirt like this big. They're like, they could just be lying.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not regular. It's not often. But and again, a lot of arousal comes from the person.
Yeah.
And so somebody who knows how to really turn themselves on is more likely to get a harder ejaculation or orgasm.
Melo, any words?
Any tips for the man then?
Exactly.
I plead the fifth.
I would like to keep my secrets. My secrets.
I can't really comment to squirting or anything like that, and all
Why
that.
not?
Well, because it's a
plead the fifth there.
it's a personal it's a personal experience for
Experience,
women,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
For women, so I can't really speak to that. But like Ellie said, it's really about learning your body and knowing what you like and all this other thing. So for men,
Yeah, they can get it all the time.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's the question I have. Well, I don't know if it's cause why are men always like horny? Like,
I mean, I'm always horny too, so I don't know.
okay,
Different
maybe
sex
I didn't.
drives,
Yeah,
different sex
I don't think I
drives.
asked
Yeah.
it well, but just like men always, there's always this notion that like and I don't know if maybe Nigerian men as well, they have this thing of like, oh, a man can cheat because it's our nature. We're always hungry, but like the woman should not cheat. She stay at home, stay faithful forever. So I'm like you said, I'm always honey.
yeah, I would say those are two different conversations because Ellie will look at me sometimes. And be like, man,
you giving her a
you could
signal,
go all the
eh?
time. Like you could go right
Yeah,
now. You
he's
could
always
right.
ready.
I love it.
But that's because I'm highly attracted to her. If I wasn't attracted to her, then maybe I wouldn't. Right? But
And a bad attitude can make a man not attracted to a woman.
exactly, yeah,
Very
yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Like you gotta, it's reciprocal. He can't just show up and give you what you want, and you can't just show up and give him what he wants without the arousal. There was a question in one of these card games that said, "Could you have sex more than 5 times a day with your partner if that's what they really wanted?" And I'm like, as long as I'm aroused more than 5 times a day, we can go. The arousal, we can go. If it's not there, then it's you can't be lazy.
Yeah.
You can, and that's it makes it easier to just find somebody new to go sleep with them because the newness might make you feel like, oh,
Excited,
I'm aroused by that. It's different, whatever. It's a mentality. You have to choose what it is that you want. Faithfulness is a choice, and commitment is a choice. And so you make the best out of those choices by being honest and transparent about what you want from that experience with your partner.
Men definitely need to have, as well as women, but more so men, I would say, need to know what it is that they want, right? If a man is curious, right, he's curious about really himself, so that might be something to why one man would go from one thing to another, right? And that's really, finding more about themselves at the end of the day. Because you could go out, when I was younger, I used to go out sometimes, right? And anytime I went out and I didn't like it or I didn't like the experience, we all have this in our mind where we know right from wrong. We know
Allegedly.
right from wrong, right? Even if we don't act it out, we know right from
I
wrong,
agree,
right?
yes.
So, you could go home at the end of the day and be like, man, I didn't really like that experience, or maybe I should have done that, or whatever the case is. We have that within ourselves. And, as you go out again, you have a choice to make, right? Unfortunate for many, men that are out there, they don't really always make the right decision, right? But I could also say from my experience that there's a lot of women that don't make the right decision either,
A
right?
whole book of bad choices.
And a lot of my conversations with women is this analogy. I always had this analogy where men are very much like dogs and women are like cats, right? When a man goes out, you know exactly where he's been. You see the trash can turned over. You see somebody complaining because he pissed on the lawn and so forth and so on, right? But when a cat goes out, you don't know where the cat has gone. You don't know if the cat was messing around with a whole bunch of other cats or anything. And then when the door opens, the cat comes up to you and just purrs and rubs up against your leg, and you think everything's all right. So, so that's been my experience in terms of learning women and seeing where women sometimes judge men. But I'm like, I know so many other women that keep things undercover and they know how to do it really, really well that nobody would even expect that they're doing these things out there.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
that's a very good insight.
Yeah.
I never thought he thought like that.
Okay, and just wrapping it up slowly. My last question on this would be like, the concept of soul ties, because you had also mentioned it. Like, could you like even explain it? And like, is it a thing? Like, is it real?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes, that's real. We are flesh and spirit. And it kind of coincides with your idea of body count.
Okay.
There was a woman talking online saying that, you don't want to be with a woman with a high body count because you are taking in all of the men or the people that person has been with,
That's true too.
and you're bringing that into. You need to have a little bit of a purification exorcism type thing going on if you are going to be with somebody who has been with a lot of people. But you want to be careful. Mello and I work because we are equally yoked. We have lived our lives. We understand our journey to where we've come. And we speak to each other honestly and openly about the things that are really hard. And sometimes we do it really well. A lot of times we do it really like loud and like intense. But, we come back to that respect because we respect and love one another. And if you don't have that respect and love for each other, there's not really a reason to stay in that. And your soul ties, if you're bringing in these different spirits into your life, we just had a whole conversation at the church about like, witchcraft. And when we think about witchcraft, we're thinking about the voodoo doll, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about spiritual warfare and how that can show up in so many different aspects. And you need to address those things when you allow certain energies around you. We talk about vibe and energy. Those could be spirits that you are not taking to, not just a vibe, if you want to be plain. And so, yeah, I think that the more people you sleep with, the more energy and spirit that you're bringing into yourself. And then it's harder to see yourself when you have a lot of that going on. So you need to purify.
And you don't have to sleep with people to even have that as well, right?
to you.
So you could, here's an example. People that are highly flirtatious, right? But in a relationship or married, right? That could be one.
She could be possessed. Like that's a lascivious nature, right? Lascivious spirit on her.
Right. So, it's just being aware of what you accept in your life or for yourself, period. Right. Again, learning about yourself, knowing what you want in your life, what you don't want in your life. If you feel that the same things are happening to you over and over and over and over and over again, that means you're accepting something that you shouldn't be accepting, and you got to question that.
Wow.
See,
Conversation.
doesn't it feel like you just had sex and then you just were just kind of like, yeah,
Guys.
that was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Where's the towel, right? Where's the towel?
No, but I think this entire conversation has been like very thought provoking for me. I have a lot to even think more in future, and I hope it has been the same for you all listening. But I think even before we go, I wanted to ask for both of you, because you guys have such, like I said, an admirable like relationship, especially in today's society standards and blah blah blah. But what would you say what do you guys admire the most about yourselves?
About ourselves or
Yeah,
about
about
each
each
other.
other. Sorry, about girl English. About each other. Sorry.
Well, I know for me, if you don't mind me going first,
No.
I really admire how big it.
Oh,
I had to just do that. I'm sorry.
Woo, Ellie.
I'm sorry. It was just too intense and
I mean,
serious.
girl, it's your throat, okay? I will stop you.
I'm
happy for you.
I am in love with this gentleman's mind. I love his spirit is calm. He is mellow, and he really, from somebody who comes from a lot of trauma, he calms my nervous system down in a way that I've never had in another relationship. And I just love the way that he thinks. We can have such great thought provoking conversations together. I'm like a philosopher to death.
Yeah.
And I get on his nerves, I'm sure, a lot. Because, like, while he can do it, doesn't mean he wants to always do it. Or I'm always up for a philosophical conversation. It's like how I learn. Because that's how I learn. I love to learn. And so having a partner who has the intelligence to think through different scenarios, who has the calm to not come out of himself when I challenge him, his attractiveness. He is already sexy and wonderful, but when we connect in a way, I can't imagine being with anyone else. And that's how I knew that I didn't, all of this stuff doesn't matter anymore because I found someone that I want to ride with. Like, I have his back. I love his children. When you date somebody who has children, you can't just love the man and not the children. You can't just love the woman and not the children.
Absolutely.
We've blended our families together. And yes, we're not married, but that will come. We haven't been together that long, right? So, but it also feels like we've been together forever, and that's because our soul tie is one that we want.
If I could say anything, I feel like your spirits understand each other. That's what
I.
Like, you guys don't even have to speak. They don't have to speak. They just need to look at each other and they're good. But for Melo, how about you?
I've been blessed, I've been blessed to meet Ellie at a time in her life that has been where she's accepting, and she's and when I say accepting, I mean accepting of me, right? As a man, as a person. She's assumed a certain role without me having to force her in any or try to push her in any type of role. Nor would I ever do that to a woman, but she's assumed a certain role, which a lot of women out there, they don't really put themselves there at all, right? And that's probably because they're trying to find something still. And I've learned a ton. When LA is very... She likes to ask a lot of questions, right? And through asking those questions, allow me to start asking questions as well. Asking questions about myself, also asking questions about her. And I'm generally a quiet
I don't know
person.
how you let this happen.
I'm a very, very, very quiet person. And the way how I grew up was very, very quiet. And just being with this woman, she's been able to put a spark in me to be able to talk about certain things with her while growing as a person as well, right? And, when I got into the relationship with her, the fact that she was all about my kids and it wasn't just, how was your kids? It was about, what are you going to do with them? I found this thing and I found that thing, so because she was so engaged with that, that was very attractive to me. Knowing that she was very selfless in that manner, not only with me, but also with the people around her. She's very, very selfless. And
I agree with that. I've known Ellie for quite a while, and it's been love and light. Like, honestly, there's never been any day where you get nothing else but love and light from Ellie. Like,
she's like that with her community.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
And you don't find a lot of people that talk about their community, even at home, right? When people are out, I don't know what everybody else does, but when people are out, they support the community and so forth. But when you're in your home and you start talking about community, the way how people engage with each other, the relationships, wanting to see more in the community, things of that nature, that's what we talk about on a regular.
I love that. And I even how was it like blending your families together, especially that you both have kids? How was that conversation?
I love this back and forth. This is great.
It was easier, I will say, because of, again, the type of person that LA is. She inquires and she's curious. She's not only curious about what the kids might feel and what they want, but also what it is that I want, and also what she wants. Right.
Also, what the mothers of the children, not necessarily what they want, but you have to be respectful. As a woman, you have to respect that another woman has birthed and gone through an experience, then has a child, and you have to respect that. And so, in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, a lot of women are like, put a ring on it or show everybody that I'm your woman. I was more like, keep it quiet because I don't want the other women to feel like something's going on where they have to protect their children. And, it was like, give space for the relationship to grow when they find out that we've been together for a year and they're like, oh, nothing has been disrupted in my life. and you've been together that long, it's kind of like, oh, okay, she good.
Oh, Ellie, that is amazing, honestly.
Yeah, you have to respect that.
She's
You have
made
to.
that transition even for me as a man a lot easier,
Yeah,
right?
wow,
So
that's-
even for me to go back
very
and talk to them about,
Yes.
you know, the relationship that I'm in, it came off a hell of a lot easier just because she has that level of understanding, and there wasn't any push or pull to be able to do certain things. She was just allowing, you know, for me to be able to have those conversations.
It's really the greatest thing that you could give your partner is the space to be a human being and to grow at their own pace. If you love them, that's the advice I would leave people with.
Well, I hope we've all heard. But Nigerian men, I will never give you the space to grow in my life.
You can't give Nigerian men this.
They will grow a forest, an evil forest in your life.
Well, maybe we should go to Nigeria and have a cultural conversation.
I think so. I really
Right?
think so.
Because if you don't understand the person that you're with, then you can't get to a place that you want. They may not understand what you're talking about. They may not need to understand what you're talking about, and so therefore there's no need for them to change. So,
Girl, you just narrated
I mean,
them.
if women keep giving them what they want and they're acting the way that they're acting, then why would they change?
I think even now Nigerian women are more like, you know what, just do what you want. We're not even giving them anything. To hell, everybody. But anyways, like again, Chrissy, it's not a man rant.
Well, I pray for the Nigerian community.
Yes, we're
and
praying
all
for you all.
communities that suffer with this.
Well, I'm just kidding. No. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Honestly, this has been a great conversation. I'm just looking at the time. I'm like, almost 2 hours. I don't want you
my
guys
Lord.
to go. So thank you. But just
Thank you.
do you
You're
guys have
welcome.
any
Thank
closing remarks or any advice you'd
I
like to
gave mine.
give for?
I gave mine. The space. I'm giving you the space to talk and grow.
Yeah.
share.
Yes.
All I would say is that continue to, you know, keep the space open for conversations like this because it's important. It's what we need. And I encourage anybody else to do the same thing and to continue to communicate.
Yeah. The one thing about us, and especially for my brand, is I'm never telling you what to think. I just want you to think. And think that's the critical thinking is the most important part of any experience because then it allows you to grow at a pace in line with what you are learning and what you're experiencing.
Oh, you guys heard it correctly. So don't forget to purchase the Adventures of a Recovering Sex Addict. If you go to ellieway.com, you'll be able to purchase this book and also get to interact with Ellie. Thank you again for giving us your time, your presence, your creativity, your insights, everything. An amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Of course. And see you all. Peace out for now. I'll see you all on the next episode. My name is Chrissy. Bye. Okay, I see that the front of the book has the same image as the wine does.
That's right.
So does the wine have any direct link to the book as well?
Yes, the wine came about after doing the movie. I did my first short film called Thirsty AF, The Adventures of a Recovering Sex Addict. And I had already been being sponsored by a wine company called CH Hot and Wines. What we do is we take the grapes from California and from Italy, and we bottle it in St. Catharines. It has a low preservatives, no sulfur, and so that feeling that you get when you drink too much wine, that like you have an allergy to it, you have pretty much a reduced or zero experience when you drink this wine. Currently, we carry the Riesling, the Moscato, the Trilogy, which is a 3-grape red grape mix, which is the Shiraz, the Cab Sauv, and the Merlot. And we have other versions as well that we're coming out with, but we decided to put my label on the wine because it really just complements the book. In the book, Callie actually drinks CH Hot and Wine Riesling. It's one of her favorite Callie Rieslings. And so the marriage between that company and my brand just kind of made sense.
Yeah.
And to promote the book and the wine, I decided to label it based off of Callie because she's such an interesting character that's what we decided to do.
Amazing. And just to clarify, it's alcoholic here?
Yes.
Okay, that's
It's
all. I'm
pure
sold.
alcohol.
That's
It
all
even
I
has
need
the
to hear.
percentage actually on the bottle. I think it's about,
amazing.
I can't remember. Wines are, let me see, because there's different ones. Let's just see.
11.5%.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
that's a good one. Okay.
It's a wonderful, especially in the summertime. This wine is amazing because Rieslings typically from Germany, they will be a much drier wine.
Okay.
California Rieslings are sweeter, and so this Riesling is a really great balance between both of those things. It's the perfect wine to have on a summer day.
Honestly, it looks like. So where could people purchase this wine?
They can go to thisislaway.com/shop and check out my the different things that we make available. You were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you could actually purchase it on its own, or you could purchase it with the books. We have different bundles as well. So.
Yeah. Or if you're gonna have an event, you can have our wine at your event. It's great for bachelorette parties, divorce parties,
Well-
the girls' nights. It's people just love, especially the Moscato that usually sells out for those kind of
I'm
events.
like, why can't I sign my sponsorship agreements? Okay? I need a lifetime supply. But like you guys heard, please go over to thisisellieweight.com to purchase the wine and the books. Guys, please support our girl over here. So please do everything you can to support us. And also Melo, I'm not joking about that link. Okay. I need the link, okay? So I'll let you guys know about it when I get it. But honestly, other than that, thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And stay thirsty.
Stay thirsty.